tremendous looking trailer.
Welcome to the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey, gentlemen, excited to be here today to talk about how the future is in our hands.
It is certainly...
No, tomorrow is in our hands. That's
I was like, that is...
Yeah. It didn't sound right.
No, yeah, as soon as you said it, I was like, that sounds half right, but it's not fully right.
I mean, the future's also in our hands. I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean...
Metaphorically or whatever.
Yeah, we'll get to a lot of metaphorical shit in a minute. This week on the show in the trophy cabinet, bronze trophy for Blacksad trying to sneak out, silver trophy for Gio being a champ, a gold trophy for Shuhei being a champ, and we hit a platinum for getting straight into our Death Stranding impressions because Death Stranding's out. It's a game that actually released. I think that's possibly one of the more surprising elements of the whole thing, because obviously a lot of people...
That actually came out?
Yeah, a lot of people obviously thought the game was either never going to come out or it was going to take like, 10 years to release. It was made over like a 3-year development cycle, basically. It seems.
Yeah, what was it announced? E3 2015, I think? That sounds right.
And they hadn't really started making it then. He basically just said, oh, hey, I got a mocap studio. Let's go. Team. Yeah, so...
Here's a trailer.
Yeah.
And I will say, side note, some of those elements from that initial trailer are actually in the game, which I was surprised.
Well, one of the trailers is literally just a cutscene, like very early in the game. Like I don't know how it would fuck it. Like story spoilers for at least the first hour or 2 hours of the game or something. Like I feel like the game's been out for a week. We can go that far. Like one of the teaser things from back in the day was literally that cutscene right at the start of the game when Sam crashes and those dudes start getting taken over by the BTs and the dude like shoots himself as he's being brought up. Like that was a whole trailer and everyone was like, what does this mean? All this sort of stuff. I'll tell you what, within the confines of the game, it makes within the confines of the game, it actually makes more sense, I guess. Whereas when you're watching it as when it's put out like as a trailer, it's like, what I don't understand. Like some dude shooting. Everyone was trying to break it down and be like this, and once again, it's like is this actually the game? Yeah, it is the game. It's literally a whole cutscene from the game. But all right, let's get into it then. How much do you reckon you've played? Like what chapter you're up to, and then give me your general first impressions.
I think I played almost 9 hours, so not barely scratching the surface. I'm up to the start of episode 3. I'm enjoying it in a weird way. Yeah, it is a weird game that doesn't feel like anything else. It is definitely this combination of a walking simulator with horror-esque elements, I guess, with a cargo management system and some sort of passive multiplayer elements. It's just an odd collection, but it's kind of engrossing and interesting, and it's also combined with like these really interesting cutscenes and stuff. So I'm enjoying it. I definitely want to play more of it. It's just a really bad time for it to come out because there's so much coming out at the same time. How can you invest 1 million hours into this game?
Trying to get to it before Friday. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm really, really enjoying this game, and I think I'll put an asterisk on it and be like, yes, this is a PlayStation show, but unless this is your first episode listening, I wouldn't say I've been like riding this game's ass. You know what I mean? Like I would say that the entire time it's been coming out, I've been cautious and critical of certain things and whatever else. It was the only time I started getting semi excited for it was actually when I watched all that TGS gameplay, and I was like, oh, I suddenly understand what this is. And then I was like, I'm a little bit more interested now. And then playing it, I'll put it this way: if I wasn't doing this, I would be playing it. I had to work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so that's screwed up how much I would have played. But pretty much I'm enjoying it to the point that like when I had to stop playing it and I was at work thinking about wanting to be playing it, which is really weird to be like for this sort of game, because obviously it's the sort of game that everyone's going to chuck around the whole thing of like the game's not fun. I want to say I'm having fun. I don't know what everyone's definition of fun has to be, you know, because I suppose it like boils down. It's like if you enjoy chess, you would say you have fun playing chess, right? Whereas other people would call chess boring and not fun. But if you enjoy it, it's fun to you. So I enjoy Death Stranding, hence I'm finding it fun, right? I don't know what the
That's if you're quite enjoying It's a complicated question.
Yeah, I suppose.
So if there's a like really dark movie that you really like, are you having fun watching it?
I don't know. It's like if I'm watching a horror movie and I'm getting scared.
No, I'm thinking like a cycle. No,
like
What's the
Hereditary.
Darren Aronofsky film
I'll say
that
I didn't have fun watching Hereditary, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, so it's like that.
No,
for some people.
I guess for some people, yeah. But I would say I definitely don't feel that way about this game. Like I don't feel like I'm pulling my hair trying to struggle through the games. I'm enjoying everything about the game. The gameplay, the cinematics, the story. I feel like some people enjoy the cinematic aspect and the story, but then obviously the part they're going to hate is the actual gameplay. So put in context, I've somehow managed to put 20 hours in.
Jesus.
I haven't slept much over the last couple of days. I've been staying up very late and then getting up early.
I'm surprised because I looked at our trophies last night. I'm like, oh, we're around the same point.
Well, it's funny because you're like, I am at the start of chapter 3 or whatever you said, like at 8 hours. I'm still in chapter 3, 20 hours in.
Yeah.
So, this is enough one of my worries have because I'm like, I Googled, I don't think this is a spoiler. I'm like, how many chapters are in Death Stranding? And the answer I got was 13.
Yeah.
Now, the first few chapters of the game go very fast. Now, but chapter 3, as we can kind of tell, is going not so much very fast. So then it makes me wonder if like chapter 3 and 4 are kind of the long ones, and then maybe after that point it's like speeds up. I don't know. Like the last couple chapters, literally just cinematic cutscenes. Possibly,
could be from what I've heard, from bits and pieces I've heard, that they could just be
true
hour-long cutscenes. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past it at this point. So yeah, it's really hard beast to tackle, I guess. But just to, I did want to just get out of the way. Yes, my thoughts on the game are positive. I'm enjoying it way more. I'm actually surprised with how much I'm enjoying it because it's from the outset. It's definitely something that I don't see. You know, I see people streaming it. I'm like, that would not be fun. The only way I'm enjoying this game is actually playing it myself because I can't imagine watching the cinematics of people on Twitch or whatever. Sure, I guess there's something to talk about. Just watching someone plot a route and just walk across the country.
Watch the story.
Yeah, something like that. But I'm like,
yeah,
that'd be.
Yeah, this is one of those games that you need to experience for yourself. I think more than probably anything out recently. I don't get the feeling it doesn't translate. Just feeling the controller rumble in your hands as you're trying to stumble down a hill.
Not fall. Not fall. So I was like, yeah, how do we kind of tackle our first impressions here? Let's start with the story stuff, and then we'll go back towards the gameplay. So obviously, with all the teaser trailers and stuff, trailers, etc., all the weird Kojima quotes over the last couple of years and stuff like that. This game was just an enigma of people trying to digest what everything boils down, what it's about, blah, 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 blah. Now, obviously, we haven't finished the game, so don't have the answer to all of the questions. But I'm going to say that this game, when you actually play it from you pick up the controller at the start and playing it, I don't think it's actually that complicated. I don't know if that's a hot take. I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than people, but I don't think it's that complicated.
I don't think the basic premise of the game is complicated. I think it's just the lore that he's thrown on top that makes it seem more complicated than potentially it is.
I guess, and it just depends if you fumble under, if you fumble under all that stuff being thrown at you, and then get really confused about everything happening. But it's like the base premise of the game is there is a massive worldwide event that causes Death Stranding to happen, or Death Stranding, Stranding, however they word it, and that causes basically so we're now in post-apocalyptic territory, and then the world where you're introduced is one where couriers. One company is called Bridges. There's another company called Fragile, who's got a girl running it called Fragile. Because everyone in the game is named after the first name. If everyone has a first name, so Sam. Second name, what they do, Porter.
Yep.
Third name, where they work, Bridges. Basically. Yep. So you don't have a real name. Your first name's your real name, and then everything else is assigned to you to work out what you do. But yeah, it's like the whole game's just about everyone.
Unless you're Dead Man or Die Hard Man.
Yeah, well, maybe I don't.
Unless man is the job, and then
maybe their job's to be a man.
The name.
Their job is literally to be a man. So it's like the world's introduced. Sam's this courier person or whatever else. You go through the first hour or so of the game, it's like blah 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 blah, and then when you get to it, the basic premise of the game boils down to the very simple fact that you're given a job to walk across the entire United States, what's left of it, and literally go to people and give them packages to win their trust. And get them to sign on their homes, their little cities, their little bunkers.
The chiral network.
Create the chiral network, which is basically connecting everyone up to the, what they call it, United Cities of America, or whatever they call it now. Yeah,
that sounds right.
Yeah, it's not states, it's cities. Yeah, so it's basically you're just trying to connect all these places up to be part of the what is left of the United States.
Pretty much, you're bringing the internet back to the people.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like transferring of information. So then that helps everyone get better technology and better help with like medicines and blah, 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 blah. That's so in its premise, very simple, I would say, that part. The part where everyone starts getting confused, and it does get somewhat confusing, is of course when you get to the fact that there are floating ghosts, you're walking around with a baby strapped to you, there's people called Die Hard Men, and like, all that stuff is where it gets confusing. But even then, I'd say like, I don't have all the answers so far, but I would say that I'm constantly intrigued to want to know more, and I'm never so confused that I feel like I have no idea what's happening. So like they introduced this whole idea of the beach, which is basically the afterlife. And the Death Stranding is like literally like a stranding of death. Like it's not like a weird name of it. It means like literally death has come. Death has like kind of washed up with our reality, I guess, or something. Like it's now connected to our gateway. So it's like death, the figurative, it's not figurative, it's like literally death, as in the afterlife, has somehow washed up and got stranded with reality and now has the ability to cross over and connect with the real world kind of thing. So it's like a literal stranding. Hey?
Which is bad.
Yeah, which is bad. So it's like a literal stranding of death on us. And that's where the BTs come in, which are the, what the fuck does it stand for?
Beach
things. That's it. It's beach things, yeah. Which basically means beach things. The beach is like the afterlife. So they're beach things, which means they're ghosts. They're dead people. Literally dead souls fucking going around.
Dead people. That's why... I've read somewhere else someone bring it up. There's no killing so far in this game, and I wouldn't expect there would be much killing in this game because if you kill something,
they turn into
not disposed of property, it turns into a BT.
Yes. So yes, exactly. You do so when you kill BTs, I guess, which are ghosts, and it's a lot easier to think of them as simply they're ghosts. That's what they are. They're ghosts. That's
what they are. They don't look like conventional ghosts, but they're ghosts.
But they are ghosts, and it's a lot easier to think about that. So the first time they show up in the game, the first couple times, I'd say they're scary, and it definitely feels like Kojima's like Silent Hill like stuff potentially that he was working on. It's like kind of somewhat crept into this part of the game, and you have to like sneak around them because if they touch you, they'll be able to drag you through to the other side, basically. Now, and Sam's special. I don't want to go into all the stuff. We'll be here forever. But Sam's special in that he can actually come back from the other side. Is the easiest way to get around that.
He can't die.
He can't die.
Well, he can die, but he comes back.
Yeah, he'll come back. But if he does die, it'll cause an event to happen, which will create a massive crater in the world, basically. Which I think it does slightly happen in the game if you get dragged under. I haven't had it happen yet because I don't get caught by BTs because I'm not a noob. You know, I'm good at games.
Well, I think it's when you die. Like I've been captured by the hands or whatever a couple of times, and then you just get into like a boss battle with like a whale.
And then but when you beat that thing, doesn't it like clear out a little bit around you?
It clears it, all the goo like clears away, but I've never like died fighting that or trying to get.
I think you get the only time you can get game over is if you escape that thing and then get caught again or something, or I don't know, something like there is a way to get a game over state. I did Google because I was like, how do you actually lose? Like how do you lose in this game?
I guess you could like fall off a cliff.
Oh yeah, I guess lose and die that way. Yeah, that would make sense. But then it's like if you die, does he just go to the and then come back? I don't know. These are all questions.
Maybe he comes back up.
I don't know.
We're not in the mood to test it all out.
No.
I'm limited time.
Yeah, I'm literally just trying to play the game, not like test weird jumping off cliff theories and stuff like that. So ghosts, that's all cool, and I like all this stuff. It's like it's very intriguing. It's like the other side is connected to the world of the living. There are ghosts floating around. I think once you boil down the themes. That's what I'm saying. Once you start boiling things down to their simplistic forms, which is kind of bad for the game because obviously you want to be able to fully take in everything Kojima's trying to say, I guess. But it's like boil it down first so you can understand it and then let yourself open to everything else. But it's like boil it down to just ghosts and then start working your way back to everything else that's happening after that point. Then you get other things happening like the baby, bridge baby is what it stands for.
Adorable.
Yeah, little baby that you literally have to shake your controller if you upset it and stuff. it's a whole thing. So that's taken from that's literally taken out of the womb of a real mother at some stage apparently, and then they're special because they take them out at that point and stick them in little things, and I guess they never grow old. It seems because like the one you're carrying around.
The idea is they only last like a year or something before.
Yeah, and then they have to be destroyed. Yeah, but it lets people plug into them, or people without Sam's powers because Sam has dooms. That's another thing that they dooms, which is basically like a special element. I get like a thing that lets him sense BTs. Like he can't see them fully, but he can sense their presence.
They're like midichlorians.
Yeah, sure. So
I mean, the more of them you have, the more you can do.
Yeah, the more special abilities.
As other characters
have dooms as well, special abilities. Yeah. So other people that don't have dooms use the bridge babies and plug into them. So then lets that little thing that you've seen on the trailers before, like tell them, help them see where the BTs are going to be. Sam plugs into it, and that helps him track them as well, but he does get side effects, which is seeing Mads Mikkelsen, which I'm sure will get explained on further in the game.
What a terrible side effect.
But every time you kind of plugs into it, you get all these cutscenes in the first several hours of Mads Mikkelsen going, "Hey baby, it's me, daddy." "Baby, it's me, daddy." "I'll save you." I was like, what is going on? I have no idea. I'm sure we'll get there. As I said, I'm only 20 hours in, which feels like 5% of the game. I know.
Yeah.
And it's like you're going around, you're meeting other characters. Overall, thematically and what's happening with the story, it's like most of it's happening in these cutscenes. I would say it's less weirder than Metal Gear so far for me, though. I know the game is very weird. I'll give it that. But whenever I think about Metal Gear and how weird that shit got, so far this is less weird than Metal Gear, I would say.
The game in which you collect your dead skin and your urine and your fecal matter so you can create weapons to fight BTs is less weird than Metal Gear?
Yes.
Okay.
So far. We'll see. We'll see how it all works out. Do you have any other thoughts on the story stuff or whatever? Like, are you enjoying it, or you're like, I'm confused, but I'm enjoying it, or like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything is too out there so far. I mean, it's again, you're traveling the country, which is way smaller than current America.
It's not 1-to-1.
I assumed a lot of it got blasted up. So, traveling the country, like delivering stuff, I assume you have to build up the ratings. There's a bunch of different rating systems within the game for deliveries and that.
Yeah.
Build up your rate system and that, and then you build up your likeness or whatever. There's a bunch of likes for everything, which is a cool thing, I guess. it feels good when you get likes and you see like you like leave a ladder or something and you get a little message saying you got a bunch of likes for leaving that ladder there somewhere.
I don't think the like system does anything though. Like I think that's kind of the point.
I assume it helps level you up somehow.
Yeah, I think it does, but I don't know how much any of that. I don't know. I'm liking everyone's stuff, right? I'm really like I'll walk past people's signs and I'll just stop and like all the signs and whatever else is happening and stuff. But I'm also just like, it's funny how this game's like so built on this liking system, but I think the point is literally supposed to be that's like, it feels good to like people, but it's not like, it's not integral, you know, it's just a positive.
Yeah.
I guess like, it's like, here, like people's stuff if they help you. Yeah. I suppose to get into like the liking stuff and the gameplay stuff and all that sort of stuff is the connected world stuff, pseudo multiplayer type thing. I don't know how to really explain it. I would imagine, put it this way, I would imagine playing the game offline would be harder. A lot harder.
Yeah.
Because, and I really do think that doesn't mean like, oh, if you want the true experience, play the game offline. No, the true experience is playing online and having stuff become easier for you by the help of other players. That is literally the point, I believe, you know? So, because you can walk, they introduced you to this very early in the game. Obviously you're walking along and there's like a ladder left to help you cross a lake. It's like, oh, that was left by another player. I believe that first one's left by an in-game player.
In-game thing, yeah.
It introduces you to the idea of how it's supposed to work. Really, once you get to chapter 3 is where things open up a lot more and you've got a lot more of this stuff going on because they introduce basically highways can be built by these massive machines that you can donate materials to, and then other players can also donate materials to. And once again, I don't know how it all works, like what people are getting put in your game
together.
Even though they're not in your game, but like are sharing the same thing. I don't know how all that works and what system goes in place.
Yeah, because I haven't seen anybody from my personal friends list.
Neither.
Like helping either, so.
No, they're all random. I guess it may be like equal chapter to you or level or progression. I don't know. Like I'm sure that all comes into play for it. But it's like you can donate all these materials to a thing and then like go and playing the game for half an hour and they'll pop up that someone else finished your bridge or whatever thing, and then like the highway has been built. You can put down ladders to help cross rivers and then people can like those. You can put up ropes to help climb down cliffs, bridges to help cross small lakes, ladder boxes to dump gear in your private locker or deliver stuff, but then you can also dump stuff in there to a public locker if you want to help out players or take stuff out of it to help out other people. People can basically drop mini side quests, deliveries in there that you can go then deliver yourself. Like the game has a lot when it's all connected. The game is very, very connected to the point that, I'm like playing it offline, I feel like is the untrue experience. And it all just flows very naturally. You know, you never feel like, because it's not like Journey where you're seeing outline of another player or anything like that. You never have anything like that happen. It's all just, you're going on, doing your game, you'll be walking, you're like, oh, fuck, a massive cliff. Do I have to walk all the way around this? Oh, there's a rope climb thing over there. Oh, cool. Oh, thanks, so-and-so. Click all the buttons, give them a like for it. Yeah, so it's like, if you was playing offline, I guess that wouldn't be there, and then you would have to literally walk around.
You'd have to walk all the way around.
All the way around, and so yeah, it's like playing the game online does definitely make it easier. But as I said, I think that's the point. I think that's literally the whole point of it. Now I guess the main thing, as I was saying, that the reason people get bored with the game or seem to get bored with the game, and I can understand. I understand, but I'm not bored with the game, is because your moment-to-moment gameplay is simply going from point A to B, and then to C, then to D, and then probably back to A. And you're literally just delivering packages as main objectives, and there are side missions to deliver other packages, and there are other things you can do, and then it's literally just the gameplay. I think in my mind, I think of it as the game's puzzle is simply mapping out your path. That is the puzzle. You know, like how you want to tackle your objective, how you want to get there, get away any obstacles that are in the way, terrain, etc. Making sure you rest appropriately, don't lose your gear, don't smash it all, don't fall over. The more you put on, the more chances you'll have to fall over. Now, here's my number one tip. For anyone. Hold L2 and R2 at all times, basically. Like, and if you have the patience, this is why I never struggle. The first part of the game, like because I'm at a point now where I can kind of carry a lot more without falling over because I got
losing your balance. Yeah.
I got like a little bit of an upgrade, and like I've got access to vehicles now and all this sort of shit that's happening. It's making certain jobs easier. But for the start of the game, which I understand, here's another thing. This is one of those games where people are going to be like, oh, the first 10 hours is a slog, but then it gets better, blah, 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 blah. I didn't find the first 10 hours a slog. I enjoyed all of it. Putting it out there. But yeah, I started the game straight away. As soon as it said you can hold L2 and R2 to basically, so Sam will put his hands up and like hold on to his stripes. So then it makes you that you don't have to, you'll fall over. Because if you don't hold those two buttons down and you're running along and he little trips on a rock, then you have to do like this little mini game thing of press L2 to balancing, press R2 to balancing, blah, 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 blah. If you hold L2 and R2, I've found that unless you actually really stumble into something, you're pretty good. He'll go slower, but he will balance easier. And that's pretty much what I've done all the time whenever I've got like a fully stacked delivery rack on my back. I'm just holding L2, R2, taking my time. Do what I need to do. Going along.
Get that package conditioned stats up.
Got to get those S ratings on my package deliveries and stuff. But yeah, so the moment of the gameplay, going down, doing deliveries, I'm enjoying because I for whatever reason, my brain is like, this is fun. Like I like going, okay, so open up the map, put a little marker here, I'll go to here. It says there's a bridge here. I'll go to here. They'll cross across to here. They'll go over here. Might stop there because there might be something there. Then I'll go over here. You know, I'm enjoying mapping out my path. But how do you reckon you'll get bored eventually, or at the moment you're like, this is chill? I find it semi-relaxing, to be honest. So
yeah, it is semi-relaxing. It would be more relaxing if there weren't BTs all over the place. But other than that, or if it felt like you could like clear them away, but I don't think that's a possibility. But yeah, it is. It's this weird gameplay loop that once you get into, it's like it is like weirdly stimulating and enjoyable, like just traversing. I guess it's like people who go on hikes. I assume it's like the same. It's the same
like,
part
I'm
of the
sure
brain.
It's fun, but
it must hit the same part of the brain. I mean, hit some sort of adrenaline, or it releases some sort of toxins in the brain or something to like explore in the outdoors. So, if you don't want to go for hike, play Death Stranding.
Play Death Stranding, yeah. How do you feel, because obviously people are chucking around the walking simulator thing for this. Yeah. I don't think this game falls under the walking simulator category
there's a bit more to do than the walking simulator.
Well, because I don't really like that term anyway, because like the I understand what people use it for and I understand what games they use it for. And it started coming up for all your like Gone Homes and what remains of Edith Finch, and
everybody went to the Rafter.
Everybody went to Rapture, etc. Which to me, they're what I think of when I think of people saying something is a walking simulator. But to me, those games, I just think of them as like narrative, like adventures or something. Like because I feel like walking simulators kind of redundant when the games are so much more. Especially like what remains of Edith Finch, fantastic, absolutely phenomenal storytelling, and then you're going to throw it under, it's a walking simulator. But if that's what people consider walking simulators, those sorts of games, this is nothing like those games. So I don't get I don't think it falls under the same thing at all. Like it's got so many more mechanics.
I think walking simulator is an element of it, but it does have it's more than just that.
You think so? Because like the walking simulator is that you're walking around and you're having a story told to you. When you're having a story told to you in this game, it's in cinematics basically. And when you're doing your walking, that is the gameplay. Like it's the least.
But you're simulating walking, so I mean the description
and jogging,
the base
and
description
running,
is true,
and climbing, and swimming.
Okay, traversal simulator. It's a completely new genre of gaming.
I know it's a new genre of gaming. It's the fucking postman box game. Yeah. So I was like, I know. I just find it sort of redundant because I'm like, it's not, because
it is a little bit dismissive.
Yeah. If anything, I would like if I had to chuck this under any sort of genre, I would just chuck it under. To me, it still does just feel like a semi third person action adventure game. I mean it's not your typical action adventure game, but if I had to pick like a genre that exists,
that's what it's going to be categorized under at the Game Awards.
At the Game Awards, it would have to be. Like,
and probably
what else?
Win because
what else?
Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, Jeff Keighley would. Yeah, I feel like there's a conflict of interest there since he's in the game, but so there is combat. I'll say that. So for people who haven't got like past the first couple hours or like haven't seen anything or do wonder, when you get to the third chapter and you get to like the basically second area, there is combat introduced in the game outside of fighting and sneaking around. BTs, which
fighting these mules.
Yeah, see the mules. I don't know what that stands for, but it's in capital, so I assume it stands for something.
It's like AIM.
Yeah, I don't know. These people are literally kind of going around and they chase after mailmen and they get off on it. Is basically the.
So they're dogs.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, because the funniest thing is, if they catch you, right, they have these little sticks outside their base, which means if you get close to any of their bases, they'll set off like an alarm, and then they'll come after you and chase you down. Now, if they take you down, which has happened to me, they beat the shit out of me. They will lock up any important items that you have on you inside one of their letterboxes inside their base. All the other shit that you had on you will just end up chucked at a random location kind of just outside of the base, which you can find fairly easily enough and pick all up. You will just wake up, I guess, after they've left unconscious and then get back up and continue on. You don't die because once again, as I was discussing, you can't die. You can't kill them. They can't kill you because that's bad for them.
And they don't want to kill you.
They don't want to kill you. Exactly. So that's part for the game world. Literally to the point, they won't let you kill anyone in this game where I've stolen one of their trucks. I tried to run them over. You can't kill them. Like it doesn't do like Batman Arkham Knight where they're bouncing off your car at like a ridiculous rate, but you go over their body and they're just like, I'm fine. Like we should be, but okay. Like, I did hit you. I did.
Should be wincing a little bit.
Yeah, I ran into one that was running towards me. He was about to chuck his freaking spear or whatever. I'm like, yeah, come on. It's fucking charging into his face. And then it just comes up. He drops around. He's got that little unconscious symbol above him. I'm like, unconscious, probably dead, but fine. Like, you know, like it's fine. But when you can, that part when you want to sneak into any of the mule bases, they have like a lot of good materials in there that you need for like building, which is good to take down. And you can clear out their bases. They return, I think, after a certain amount of in-game time or something like that. But you can clear them out and then freely kind of walk around and steal one of their trucks and then pile it up with materials and then take that back to your base, which is what I did. Just got in, take the truck, dump all the materials in the back, clear out another one of their turns, dump it in. Oh, I've got a full truck of materials. I'm going to take that back. Anyway, I'm having a ball with this game. So you can knock them out and do all that stuff. But there's several ways you can go about it. Is you can literally just fisticuff them, spam square, like knock them out that way. The easiest way and the number one tip I have for taking down the mules is literally just open up your strand, which is what the game calls your rope in the game. Yeah. And you can literally just hold L2 and then they'll begin charging at you and then literally just spam R2 because eventually it comes up with a parry thing. But you can just it's not one of those things where if you press it too early, you'll fail it. So you just hold L2 and then begin spamming R2. And then when they charge at you, you'll parry them and then you'll be able to like counterattack them with the strand. So you take them down easy as fuck. They can't kill you. The combat in this game so far is easy. And I think that's done on purpose because the challenge is supposed to be traversal and all that other stuff. So I kind of like that because it's not like, oh, why is this so hard? Because that would begin to annoy me. Like if these things are too hard and I'm like, oh, it took me like fucking an hour to walk in. Now I'm getting my ass beat over by these mule people. Like, can you just get the hell out of here? Like you do unlock weapons as well, like non-lethal weapons and ways to take down the mules, which makes them quite easy. But that's the combat. But even then, it's like that's the most like Metal Gear-ish part of the game so far. Like, because you can sneak around their bases and like hide in grass and like sneak up behind them and stealthily take them down with the rope and all these sorts of things. So definitely the most Metal Gear-y part of it so far. There was one boss fight, semi-boss fight, that you would have just done as well. Probably sounds like
Troy Baker's character.
Yeah, like when he first shows up and like even then I was like, this is not like I don't know like how I die. Like again, I'm like I don't know, like I did it, but I'm like, how would I have failed that? Like after I did it, I was like, how would I have failed that fight? But I did find one line interesting without going to mega spoilers for Troy Baker's character. When he shows up, and if you watch the trailers, he's like the dude in the mask with a hoodie on and
gold mask.
Yeah, gold mask. With
to be
on.
Clear, gold mask. There's another guy with silver mask.
Yeah, he's a good guy though. So far, we'll see.
So far,
yeah. When Troy Baker's character shows up, one of the things I found interesting is he literally says to you, and I think it's like a 4-4 breaking thing. He's like, when he's about to like kind of start this boss fighty type thing, he says, "Isn't this what you've been waiting for? A game over?" Or something like that. Like I can't remember the exact line, but it really felt like he says, "Are you sick of the grind? Isn't this what you've been waiting for? A game over?" I was like, that is speaking to the player. That is surely like you've spent the last 10 hours, just walking around, fumbling around, and then you literally have Troy Baker's character say, "Are you sick of the grind? Isn't this what you're waiting for?" As a boss fight begins, don't you want a game over? That really feels like they knew that people would probably be
okay, till that point.
Yeah, like they knew the game would be like not fun for some people, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, going into it, we've had friends who have had review codes and that kind of thing before us. They've said there's a turning point. Do you reckon that's the turning point they're referring to, or do you think it's something further on?
Everyone was saying it was. So I haven't read any reviews still, and I'm not going to until I'm done.
Finished, yeah.
But I've seen Twitter thoughts and stuff. And number one, that's what I was saying. The number one thing I saw was people saying that the game, the big hurdle's like the first 10 hours. So to me, that sounds like the chapter 1 and 2. And then once you get to chapter 3, which is where we're at now, and you get a bigger area, you get more tools, you get the ability to build like highways, you get the ability to like vehicles, all this other stuff happening. It's a lot more open the first 2 sections of the game. I feel like that has to be the hurdle that people are talking about. But even then, I gotta say, I wasn't bored for the first 2 chapters. So like I never had a hurdle to overcome. Now I have also heard that the game gets good in this section, quote unquote, from what people consider good. And then later on, it kind of goes back to a more not so open area or whatever. And then that also apparently has annoyed some people. Well, I'm not worried, personally. I'm having fun.
Okay.
Will I wear myself out? I don't know. Honestly, I could maybe 20 hours from now, I'm like, just end me. Yeah, just end the fucking game. I'm over it. That could well and truly happen. This is why it's first impressions. Sometimes you start a game and you're like 5 hours in and you love it. You finish it at 15 hours, you're like, oh my God, that thing was fucking terrible. So I'm not worried though. Are you worried that you'll potentially burn out or?
I think probably because if you don't know, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is coming out this Friday.
Yeah.
As well as the new Pokemon games, which we'll talk about on another show. But so there is a certain time crunch. I think we're both feeling they're like, kind of want to finish this before we start that. Otherwise,
it won't come back to
there's going to be like, how are you supposed to juggle those 2 games? But no, I'm not too worried. I feel like the last couple of days I played it like 4-hour chunks. I've been like, this is a good point for me to like take a break from this. And like, I'm hoping I can continue that for a while longer and then just not be able to forget all the story points.
Yeah. So the Friday night when it came out, when I got home from work, so I played it for a couple hours or whatever, like an hour and a half, 2 hours before work, because I picked it up as soon as I could and then went to work. When I got home, I played it till 4 a.m. And that would have been like a 6.5 hours chunk or something like that. And that wasn't me being like, oh, fuck, I've got to stay up really late and get through this because Star Wars is coming up. That is on my mind, but that was just me generally literally doing like the very open worldy thing of one more mission. But instead of like one more mission, it was, I'll deliver this, I'll deliver this, and I'll go somewhere, deliver something, and then they'll be like, oh, here's this other package. And I'm like, oh, that's only just down the hill. I'll deliver that one, and then they're like, oh, here's another one over here. I'm like, I'll do that. And then then I do a whole bunch of mucking around in the menus. I'm like, oh, before I get off the game, I better rest up my character, take a shit, take a piss, take a poo, take a shower, fucking, go for it, drink my Monster Energy drink. Okay, drink 3 cans of Monster Energy drink so my stamina's at plus 25%. do all these things, get out of the thing, load up my car, get on my gear, and then I'm like, oh, I better like drive it up the road and save it there. So next time I load in, it's at a good point. You know, like this, I was just really, I wouldn't have got off if I didn't have to work. I don't reckon I would have happily just kept playing. I'm
played it
very much into the loop at the moment. That's what I'm saying. I'm enjoying the fucking game.
very much.
Very much enjoying the game. I don't know if it's going to be like game of the year. Can't say that yet now, but I gotta say at the moment, how I'm feeling about this game is I'm having a lot of fun, and if I had to end the game now, it would probably be definitely in my top 10. But I was saying, I don't know if 20 hours from now, I'm like, this game went for way too long. The story got stupid. You know, like I don't know if it's going to go to shit. But if the game ended now, I'd be like, I've had a great time. You know, like I've had a very, very good time with this game. I don't know. So the other thing I want to go over is Michael sent in this email, which I cut it out a little bit because it's rather long, but we'll go over some points he put in here. So he emailed, of course, mail@explosionnetwork.com, which you can as well if you'd like to send in things, and just put Platinum Explosion in the subject line, and then we'll read it. He said, I can see both the positive and negative sides, positive being using technology to connect people, specifically a positive experience of multiplayer like Journey or the Jolly Co-op of Dark Souls. Then there's the negatives of being unrestricted in terms of allowing nearly every idea when it comes to gameplay being bad, like realism and carry capacity and balance and the laborious nature of actually walking. So the thing I want to focus on here, and I think this is something a lot of people will feel, and the reason the game is going to click for a lot of people is the whole fact of like feeling like the game's mechanics are too much. And by that I mean the obviously the fact you have to balance yourself, all this sort of stuff. You got your stamina bar, blah 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 blah. And I understand how a lot of people may feel like this is shitty mechanics onto this sort of game. And the reason I don't mind it is because that is the game. Let's think about something else.
It's the only mechanic, arguably. So it's like, what would you prefer? Just walking everywhere without any problem? That seems like
my example is going to be like
silly.
The Outer Worlds. Played recently, right? Played through that. I kept getting annoyed when I'd become over encumbered. I'm like, just let me pick up everything. I'm getting sick of being over encumbered and dealing with that. And then I was like, imagine it in a game like that, The Outer Worlds, an RPG, if you had to think, balance stuff and whatever else, then it would be like, this is a stupid mechanic to have in this type of game because that's not why we're playing this game. You can apply that analogy, of course, to anything else, like The Witcher, whatever else, like chucking these sort of mechanics that Death Stranding has to any other game, and you'll be like, yes, this is stupid. They should not be in this game. The reason I don't mind them in Death Stranding is because it is the game. They're not, it doesn't feel like silly mechanics put on top of a game to make them harder and more tedious or blah, 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 blah. It is literally the game's mechanics. It's literally how the game's meant to be played. Now, you cannot like it, and I can understand why a lot of people would not like it. I fully understand that. I don't think this game's for everyone at all, and that's fine. Like any other game, if you start it up and you're like, this isn't fun, I'm not enjoying this, I'd be like, okay, well, that's your opinion. I fully understand that. But when it comes to this game and the nature of having to organize your backpack and balance yourself and stamina and all that, I am enjoying it because I feel like all of that built into this game and the way it wants you to play it, it's done really well, in my opinion. I'm finding it fun.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense why he's put difficulty or restriction into the game just to add an element of difficulty, I guess. And I mean, if you're a delivery person, that would be the most concerning thing. The struggle of carrying this weight long distances. And like the degradation of your equipment, your boots, like falling apart or whatever. So it makes sense within the game. So you've got to put it in that context.
It feels, a lot of times I've been thinking about it like kind of, it's like a sim. Like it's very simmy, you know, like, and I'm not really big into those, but like, when it comes to this game, when I'm heading back to base or something, I'm like, okay, what are my shoes at? They're like 40%. Oh, fuck it. I'm going to chuck those in the shared locker in case anyone wants those, or I'll recycle them. I'll buy a new pair, attach those. I've still got spares. Okay. So I'm always making sure, like I'm always double checking stuff. Like I have good boots. I have spare boots over here. What do I have over here? Do I have a ladder? I always make sure I'm like carrying 2 of everything basically. Like I'm checking all my stock every time I go back, and I'm enjoying that part of it. But it's like if you don't enjoy that, that is part of the game. Like full stop.
Yeah.
You know?
It's got that survival game element in it as well. I mean, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Continue saying perhaps Kojima had too much freedom and no one was there to say no, that's not a good idea because of the quality of life player. I'm a fan of the idea that adding restrictions to a creative process improves the quality of the work rather than having everything your way. To put it simply, I don't know if he worked out all the themes and gameplay ideas that he produced and tested these and how did a self-critique saying, no, this is not working. Let's drop it and allow for better pacing of the game. Pacing is subjective, and perhaps I am opening up a whole can of worms by mentioning it, or maybe I'm looking at it through the long lens and the lens being that of the cinematic editing for film TV show. Allowing a scene to breathe, holding on to certain shots, moments of quiet, reaction shots, making your point and moving on, not repeating information. The scenes or ideas is good, but why does it have to take X amount of time to get there when it could be shortened? I think that, like, I guess that's like, as I was saying before, I feel like a lot of people obviously are going to enjoy the cinematic part of the game and then kind of wish that they could get to the next cinematic part of the game quicker. But I'm saying this, I don't, if you've been listening to the whole podcast, obviously my thought of this is I'm enjoying everything in between. I'm not like, oh, I wish I could get there faster. In fact, a lot of the time I'm spending so much time fucking around that I could probably get through the game faster and I probably should be doing less fucking around. But I'm like, I got to do a little bit. I want to play the game. I don't like rushing games too much, even if I feel like I do, because I feel like I'm not playing them the way I would actually play them, and then I can't actually talk about them. So it's like me fucking around with mules, trucks, and taking material back and whatever else and taking out the entire base. That's just me messing around. I could have gone straight to the actual next story mission. If you want to focus out of everything and be like, here's what you don't have to do in this game. You don't have to stop to pick up every single random box you see on the ground. They're dropped by other players. That's how that works. They are other players' boxes and shit that has been dropped. If you drop a bunch of boxes and you walk, I don't know how far it is, like
100 meters or something.
Nah, further than I've done that. So I think it might be like a kilometer or something ridiculous. You got to walk a fair distance away from stuff you've left on the ground. At what point the game will pop up and tell you that you've walked too far away from them, and they will now be able for other players to pick up and deliver them. So that all that random shit that you're finding in your game, not at the very start of the game, because once again that's all in the game to introduce you to the idea of how it works. But all the random boxes you see, they're not going to end. This isn't normal RPG where you click them all up and you clear up the map. And, like this isn't a Ubisoft game. You're not going to clear the map. They're going to continually be there. There's always going to be more fucking boxes for you to deliver. So if you don't want to get sidetracked, forget the boxes. Every time you go to a delivery place, after the first couple of hours, and it locks the ability for basically side quests, standard deliveries, I think they're called. No.
Standard orders.
Yeah, standard orders. They're all side quests. I don't think they all end either, from what I understand. I'm honestly not sure. I feel like they may go forever. Don't touch those. If you want to just get from A to B and try and get through the game as fast as you can, I'd say you can. You just have to not let yourself be distracted by, But even then, I would say that like that is part of the game to me. Stopping and being like, that's part of the game for me.
Yeah.
So
I feel like those are important also to help you make Sam a better delivery person. You get every 10 levels or something in a certain thing, you get
a reward. Yeah.
You can carry more stuff and get better balance and that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
it's an important element, but it's not necessary. It will potentially make things harder in the future, though.
All of the really upgraded gear I've got so far that has made my life easier is from doing basically side mission deliveries to other characters. And I usually try and play my route too, because it's like, it's like, I've got to take the main mission like from here all the way up to there, and there's like 3 stops on the way. So it's like I'll pick up at that place everything that's in front of me, like extra missions. And then if I go to that next place and it's got 3 deliveries, 2 of them are for the places I'm going and 1 for the one I just left, I leave the one that was behind me and I take the other two. You know, like just playing
sensible.
Yeah, I'm not running backwards and forwards consistently because I don't think they'll end. I'm just kind of taking what's on my way. You know, like if it's on my way or slightly out of the way, but still in this general direction, then I'm going to take the packages. His last thing he added in is, so I ask you, should I trade this game in? If you're not enjoying the game,
if you're not liking it,
yes.
If you're not liking it, trade it in.
Yeah.
But I think like Dylan said, you should at least get to episode 3. I think.
Yeah. If you can push through and make it to chapter 3, even though I hate people saying it, it does open up a lot more. But if you hate the core premise
of delivering
stuff, that is the game. It does not get that is literally all you're going to be doing. So yeah, if you hate that, then you're not going to enjoy the game, and I think you should trade it in. And you shouldn't have to feel like obligated to like the game.
You shouldn't feel bad about that. It's just not for you.
Yeah,
not every game is for everybody.
No, exactly. That'll do it for, I think, Death Stranding. That's our spoiler cast. I mean, Platinum Explosion episode, basically, for the thing. We'll talk about it. I'm going to say, if I have finished it next week, we may skip talking about it, and I may wait to see if you finish it, Nick's playing it as well. Maybe I'll wait until like everyone's finished it potentially, or at least Nick or you have finished it, or someone, and then we'll do something else for it. But yeah, I think we're good for now.
But yes, Nick is playing it. We will get his opinions on something on a podcast at some point.
Hopefully.
Don't be worried.
We'll see.
People. Nick fans.
Nick fans.
Nick stands.
Nick stands. The other thing I wanted to grab your point out and grab your tell everyone about were funny because I thought this was interesting. So Push Square writes, Blacksad Underskin accidentally releases a publisher advisors not playing. Blacksad Underskin is available on PlayStation 4 in Europe right now, except it's not supposed to be. Microids recently delayed the title till 14th of November, but a technical malfunction means it's currently available on the PlayStation Store. According to the French firm, a day one update will bring required enhancements to the frame rate as well as fix major bugs and missing music. So yeah, I saw this was up early last week. So did you. You've got it.
I bought it before that news story came out, and I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
So the game released basically 2 weeks early somehow. And I think this story is interesting because how does that happen? B,
I think it was delayed very late, like very close to the release date.
But only in Europe.
Whether they just didn't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I think somebody just forgot to change some numbers or something, and it just automatically released, obviously.
That's very weird. Yeah, so how long did you play? What were the bugs? How bad was it? I
think maybe 3-4 hours.
Wow.
It crashed a couple of times. There's some missing dialogue. The textures, like walls, will be look like perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden they'll be like really grainy or like just straight up gray. And then obviously Blacksad is like an adventure. It's like an old school point and click-esque adventure detective game. So you've got dialogue options. In one of them, the dialogue options are hidden behind the character instead of being in front of the character.
That's a good one.
Which is an ish. So you have to move the camera so you can sort of get an idea of what the dialogue option is. And then I feel like there's other possibly things that won't be changed, like they don't introduce certain elements of the game. Like there's no introduction or anything, or tutorial-esque elements. I liked what I've played so far. I like the art style. I'm enjoying the story, but those technical glitches, like flame rate issues and that kind of thing, is holding it back. So as soon as you posted that story, I'm like, I'll stop and I'll wait. And I think yesterday a day one patch came out.
Okay.
And they're intending to do another patch potentially by the actual day one, which is the 14th, which is when the boxed version comes out. So
sounds like you might not be going back to this for another.
Not for a while, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah. And it's. I mean, I might just jump in to see whether it's worthwhile going back and starting again, or I can continue from where I am. But
yeah.
It looks cool still. I mean, there's fun elements. I like the characters and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a It's hard to get that first taste out of your mouth.
Have to get your wait for Ash's thoughts once he's played it post patch. But I thought that was still interesting. I'm like, this is such a weird news story that again,
such a weird
thing that's happened.
And it's so broken. I'm concerned about people who like buy the game like physically and then don't have internet or anything, and they just expect it to work out the box. It's like not going to.
That's a dilemma these days in general. I think really.
Yeah.
I've only got down 2 news stories this week because let's be real. I thought we'll talk about Death Stranding for a while, and lo and behold, that's what happened.
We did.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me get my tinfoil hat. No.
Motherfucker. So first thing, Sony Interactive Entertainment has announced that Shuhei Yoshida will step down from his position as president of Worldwide Studios effective immediately. This happened, I think, what day did this? November 7th.
I think it was Thursday our time because we just recorded something.
Yeah, we just recorded Arcade Couch. And that happened.
We just recorded Arcade Couch. I'm looking through Twitter. Yeah. And the press start article pops up. I'm like, and the headline isn't Shuhei's left. It's Hermen Hulst.
Oh, yeah.
Hermen.
You get ahead of news. Sorry. So, Yoshida has left as president. Get the facts right.
Clear.
Shuhei Yoshida has stepped down as president of Worldwide Studios. He will be taking on a new role, though, focusing on a new... What was the word for it? What's the new initiative is the wording that they're using. Yeah. So Jim Ryan in a thing said, I'm thrilled to announce Shu Yoshida as head of this new initiative. Everybody knows how passionate Shu is about independent games. They're the lifeblood of the industry, making our content portfolio so special for our gamers. These widely creative experiences deserve focus, and the champion like Shu at PlayStation will ensure that the entire SIE organization works together to better engage with independent developers through a culture of supporting and celebrating their contributions, my goodness, to PlayStation platforms. To boil it down, basically Shu is going off to do what he does best and what he kind of started off doing, which is once again kind of working closer with smaller teams. And it seems to me, if you read between the lines, because they're like, we're starting this new initiative to go after like small and diverse teams and blah, 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 blah. It seems to me that PlayStation is setting up to like get back into getting more indies aboard the PS5, you know?
Yes.
Is basically
what it
seems like.
It makes sense because obviously indies were a big push for the start of
PS4.
They're the start of generation games that you need to have because they come out quicker. People play them. They're obviously a bit cheaper and it's easier to get into. Whereas the AAA games, obviously, like many, many years of development. Not to say all indie games are like they come out like anything, like really quick, but there's more indie games studios than there are AAA studios, just by the nature of commerce.
The industry, yeah.
So it makes sense. I think I'd be interested to think that whether this news is somewhat connected to the other piece of news we're going to talk about in a bit. But yeah, I think maybe Shuhei is it less of a stepping down, like less of being pushed out and more like, hey, I'm going to take on this new role because I feel like I've done everything I can as president.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same as like when Jim Ryan came in, the previous chairman stepped down to focus on like next working things. He just went, hey, this is an area I could be helping out more than what I'm currently doing.
Yes. No team.
So I mean, it seems like a win-win.
So to tie this all in, so this news comes as head of Worldwide Studios has now been appointed to Hermen Hulst. Hulst co-founded Guerrilla Games and worked on Killzone franchise and 2017's massive PlayStation success, Horizon Zero Dawn, as well as the Decima engine that was most recently used for Kojima Productions' Death Stranding. So,
side note, Decima engine could potentially be game-changing because it looks incredible in Death Stranding.
It looks, yeah. I mean, somehow didn't mention that. Death Stranding, in case you don't know from watching all the trailers, looks really good. I don't know. Yeah, so Hermen Hulst, in as now the president, head of Worldwide Studios. Interesting. Coming from not, it's like it's weird because it's not from Japan. You know, which has kind of been the That was the first thing that I noticed and was like interested of. I'm like, okay, so it's from someone from Europe is now becoming the head of worldwide studios, where usually these top jobs passed slowly over time. These top jobs at PlayStation are being taken over by non-Japanese people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You the company that is actually from Japan, you know, like Sony is from Japan. And then all these roles are now being put out to European people, American people, or whatever, you know, so I think that's somewhat interesting, or maybe they're just spreading it around a little bit differently. But, and then also the other thing
it's just a continuation of all corporations being worldwide entities. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then the other thing that's interesting is that it's literally someone from a head of a game studio that has stepped up, which, you know, obviously has happened before, but I've never seen a jump from like this fast or this quick or like, you know what I mean? Like, here he is.
Well,
and then bam.
I know. He has been is a co-founder of Guerrilla Games, which has been around for over a decade.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, you made a studio, you've been here for like 3 years, you put out one game, hey, we're going to make you head of Worldwide Studios. No. He's obviously been in the games industry for a very long time. I think I heard on various podcasts that he's been involved in like the first party, like get-togethers or collaborations, like meetings and that kind of thing. He's been a key voice in those. So whether it's just a personality thing, they went like, here's the person. Shuhei's seen, that's the person I think would be best suited to this job, and plucked him out.
Well, the other thing with Shuhei is, I guess, like, from the inside, he was always like, even if you watch that, like the God of War documentary, obviously they talk about how Shuhei comes in and like he'd play games and like everyone looks up to Shuhei and like trusts his opinions. And, you know, Cory Barlog was so annoyed when Shuhei, you could tell he was a little bit like, this isn't running so great or whatever, you know, like everyone, I feel like you could tell that everyone like respected Shuhei, I guess, like, and his opinion, you know, like they trusted his opinion on.
Shuhei is like a father figure that you want to please.
Yeah. And he was also well liked. Shuhei was also well liked by the public. Like he was one of PlayStation's public people. Like he
most public facing people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people
would put Shuhei into their games.
Yes. People enjoyed him. So, and I think Hermen Hulst, in all of his interviews that I've ever seen, he comes across very likable. I feel so. I feel like if everything on the inside is saying that he's someone that people are trusting their opinion on, like, you know, he's someone that people are going to trust opinions on and take his word for, and blah 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 blah, and then he's also going to be able to fill the role as like a public person, even though that's not big. Obviously, that's not the main part of the job. But if you're looking for someone to fill Shuhei's shoes, I feel like it's a good choice. Like
I'm sure he'll show up at whatever conference they do at some point.
Yeah, PlayStation Experience.
Well, somebody has to run it. Sean Layton's not there anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Which gets to the conspiracy that everybody's leaving.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But yeah, if you want to know about, I think probably the best interview I've seen with Hermen Hulst is the one that he does with Neil Druckmann about Horizon Zero Dawn. I think they did like a one-on-one interview.
Where was that on?
On probably the PlayStation YouTube.
Oh.
So look that one up.
Haven't seen that one. Before
you probably have, you've just forgotten.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Before we get to Tinfoily Hattie, let's get the other thing out of the way here. So, from GamesIndustry.Biz, PlayStation's head of global second-party games, Gio Corsi, today announced on Twitter that last week was his last with the company, saying, quote, "I'm taking some time off, but I'll be back in games soon enough." Corsi said, "I'm extremely proud of all the amazing things we accomplished. Big love to everyone past and present who made my time there truly special." Corsi joined the company as Senior Director of Third-Party Productions and Developer Relations during the run up to the PlayStation 4's launch in 2013. He transitioned to second party position last year. So, and the other thing they don't mention there is, of course, Gio Corsi was known. He was not super.
He was the champion of the Vita.
He was the champion of the Vita. Yes, that's he was the champion of the Vita. So now that Gio's gone, the Vita is officially dead. Officially dead. All right, so do you want to get your tinfoil hat on now, or are we past this? Because obviously we spent a lot of time talking about it when Sean Layden left, and
how many
blah, 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 blah.
How many key figures from PlayStation are leaving at the same time? It looks a bit suspicious.
This is the thing. I don't think it
Or
looks. I don't.
Or whether it's just a restructuring thing, and it's just
Just a restructure.
It's just interesting that all these people are going at the same time.
As I said, I used my whole teacher analogy of how so many dropped off once my class reached the end of its high school year. And that's literally how I feel a lot of these people are, you know? Like maybe a lot of these people have been on for ages. A lot of these people were like, see you at the PlayStation 4 and then I'm done. I want to move on to something different. People move on to new roles. Even like you look at the Shuhei thing, you know? Like he hasn't left, but he's seen through this generation in that role. And now as he goes in, and now as we head into next generation, he's like, I don't want to leave PlayStation, but I do want a new job, something new.
Yeah.
And he's just gone to a different position. Yeah. Other people are like, I've seen through this generation and I'm just going to go I've got offered position here, blah, 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 blah. That's all it is to me. I think it's very normal. I think it's very normal to see all this happening. I don't think there's like, in a world where all these people were leaving because there's something drastically wrong at PlayStation, like, that means we're in dire straits. And I don't think we're in dire straits.
No.
You know, if that's the theory everyone wants to run with, like, what's going on at PlayStation? Crazy things are happening. Yeah, I do think crazy things are happening, but I like to think they're crazy good things. Hopefully. You know.
Do you feel like it's a bit odd that it's like 3 major people in a month? Maybe not Shuhei. I think obviously Shuhei is moving to a new position, and that might be reactionary to Sean potentially leaving. There wasn't much said about Sean's leaving. It's just a tweet. There was no press release or anything. Also worth noting that Hermen is now head of Worldwide Studios, whereas there was a chairman and a president prior. Mm. So whether they've just obliterated those 2 positions and gone back to one head.
I think they've been changing around, deleting roles, adding roles.
Just streamlining, I think.
There was
and I think also maybe the second party thing is another, maybe Shuhei is kind of taking that over because they're not really a second party anymore.
No, yeah.
So him like focusing on indie games is maybe a smaller subsect of third party games in general. So
well, it's like I think just a lot of restructuring as you approach the next generation in general makes sense, especially when it's like, okay, what's important to us? What do we need? What are we doing? There was this massive interview I read with, I didn't bring it up here because I'm like, I don't know what parts to break down, but GamesIndustry.Biz had this massive interview with Mr. Big Boss himself. Fucking mental blanking on his name. Oh,
Jim Ryan?
Jim Ryan. They had this massive interview with Jim Ryan. Very lengthy thing. But, talking about that, I like it. Here's the thing. Jim Ryan has said some things and done some about crossplay and all this sort of stuff.
Weird stuff.
But at the same time, I kind of like him because he's very just straight up, he seems. Like, even this interview I read, because GamesIndustry.Biz, the person who was interviewing him, they wrote an opinion article like a month prior that was like called "What the Hell is PlayStation Doing?" and was like talking about like what a lot of stuff they're doing behind the scenes and being like, what are they going on? And in this interview, he literally says, like you said in your article, like he read the article and like didn't play around it. He just was basically like, I read your article where he was criticizing PlayStation, and he was like you said in your article, like we've got to change this, we've got to do this. Like, and I kind of like that mentality, like the ability to just be very open and honest. Like, even if he gets some things wrong in the past, that doesn't mean that, because I know everyone wants to like hate on him and be super afraid of him, but I'm like just because he's done and been against bad choices and made bad choices in the past, does that mean we're just going to assume that the same's going to happen again? Could. Not going to say he won't make bad decisions, but I'm like, I don't think there's any reason to be super scared. He sounds like he's like, he wants the company to succeed. He sounds like he's open to new ideas. In all the interviews I've been reading with him recently and trying new things, like he's talking about cloud gaming and like how important that is, and they ask him about like acquiring studios, and he says that they're looking into it, but they're always open to it, but he says it's like a very expensive endeavor and they would definitely never want to buy a studio and then have it basically be a waste of money, blah, 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 blah. He says it's basically a seller's market, I think, and it was a quote. He's like, it's a seller's market at the moment, not a buyer's market. So goes over a lot of interesting things in there. And one of the things he also talks about was just the restructuring to the globalization of the the PlayStation company. I think that a lot of that comes down to the roles and what's happening with people leaving and Shuhei and all this sort of stuff at the moment, where it's like they're talking about how they used to have all the different sectors, obviously, Europe, America, blah, 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 blah. Now it's just like there's Sony. It's like PlayStation, blah, blah, blah. And then he even talks about how they used to make everyone's lives used to be so much harder because they would have different teams doing different marketing jobs. And, like it all used to be so much complicated. He says at the moment they're like the Spider-Man thing that they did last year. Spider-Man was their first ever global campaign push they've ever done, where it was like basically the same globally for everywhere. And he says that they've done similar campaigns where it's the exact same campaign, but they kind of just changed the game. But he says that in the interview that's still easier. So he says like in Japan, it's the same campaign, but it's for Final Fantasy. In America, it's the same campaign, but it's for Fortnite. But it's all the same thing. And across markets, it's still a lot easier for them to keep under control. So if I guess from reading it sounds like he's really just wanting everything to be under one umbrella now. It's like with the whole global, like bringing everything together. And I guess that does play into a lot of the changes and roles that they may be doing, and they still might be changing stuff up, obviously, as they head towards next year. I presume they're still shifting chairs around and
hopefully not too much.
No, but the other thing is like everyone's acting like the PlayStation's ass is falling out at the moment. But I guess if a bunch of people are wanting to leave, it is better to have them all do it over like this period of time. Like don't all do it the same week. That would look really bad. But like do it over the same short period of time, not over 6 months or something ridiculous. Do it over the end of the year. That does make sense. Just do it all over the end of 2019.
I know. I feel like it's just all of these have been kind of sudden. We might not know. There might have been some sort of transition period before they left. Like they were grooming somebody else to, or were informing people on what their roles entail.
Which is most likely.
That kind of thing.
Most likely.
I mean, it's probably likely. I mean, you'd be kind of addicted. Like, hey, today's my last day. I'm out.
Yeah. Peace out, homies.
Not sure you can do that at like a big company.
No, I don't think so. But no, I'm not scared. In fact, I think it's exciting because to me it just seems like no matter whatever the PS5 is going to be, it seems like they're obviously making a lot of. We're going to have fresh blood. We're going to have Shuhei in different positions. We got all these. Like it's either way, it's exciting. Could it be terrible? Could it be the worst PlayStation console since the PS3? Maybe. Either way, it's going to be exciting to talk about here on Platinum Explosion. Number one PlayStation podcast in this. That'll do it for this week, I think. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaldil, Vivaladil. You can follow Ash on Twitter at Ashley Holby, SHLEYHBLEY. You can follow the show on Twitter at Podcast. How about the show by either giving us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, or tweeting out that you really liked it, because that helps word of mouth. You can join our Discord and chat to us about GamesExplosionNetwork.com/Discord. And this is, of course, a product of the Explosion Network, of which you can find many more articles, news, reviews, things at ExplosionNetwork.com. You can follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. Until next week, remember that every trophy counts.